Today we're going to look at A-TRAC. We're going to look at all three generations of A-TRAC. Look at this here. This is the Lexus GX550. Yes, the 470. Three generations of GX ago. Now that's A-TRAC in action, and I'm always going to say it's better than a locker. Look at this back passenger tire. It gets off the ground. It locks up. A-TRAC locks it up, and the vehicle immediately moves forward. There is no hesitation in the system whatsoever. Watch it here. The vehicle moves with the wheel in the air, that passenger rear wheel in the air. There's a lot of rumors about A-TRAC, a lot of misconceptions, and a lot of just straight up nonsense circulating around about A-TRAC. But this is a GX470 here. This is not a GX460. This is the old GX470 showing off A-TRAC. You can see there's no hesitation. As soon as the wheel gets in the air, this is clear off the ground. As you can see here, the A-TRAC system locks this wheel up, and unlike a locker, A-TRAC can send 50% of the power to this wheel on the ground, this driver's rear here. 50% of engine power can go to this one wheel to allow the vehicle to propel forward. That's why I will always say A-TRAC is superior to a locker. A locker mathematically cannot do this. A locked vehicle would have 25% going to each wheel on this rear axle. A-TRAC does it differently. Mathematically, it can send 50% to this wheel here on the ground, and that's why the vehicle goes forward. Now what I want you to notice, and we're going to move ahead here to the GX460 in a second, then we're going to get to the GX550, but pay attention. It acts instantly and it moves forward without hesitation. There's zero hesitation here. Now we're going to see the next generation, the Lexus GX460, and here you're going to see A-TRAC do its thing, this time on the front. This wheel's going to get clear off the air. Look at that. Boom. No delay. Instantaneous action. The wheel in the air instantly locks up here, so this wheel's going to lock up as soon as it goes in the air. The rest of the wheels get traction. Now the important part again here to note is that once this happens, A-TRAC is able to send 50% of the power to the driver's front here. If this was a locked vehicle, only 25% would be able to go here, while the other 25% is over here doing nothing. With A-TRAC, this can lock up, and up to 50% can go here to the wheel that actually has traction. Again, mathematically, a locked vehicle cannot do that. There's simply no way around the math here. Toyota and Lexus engineers know this. A-TRAC was intended to be a replacement for lockers 23 years ago when they got rid of lockers in most markets and replaced it with A-TRAC. All right, now let's look at the GX550. A-TRAC right there. You can't deny it. This is now the third generation of A-TRAC. When this driver's rear gets the air, the wheel immediately locks up and the vehicle goes forward. So just like the three previous generations of A-TRAC that you saw, don't watch the spinning wheel locking up and doing its thing. Watch the vehicle. No delay. Vehicle is commanded to go forward, and it goes forward. As soon as this rear driver's gets off the air, it locks up and the vehicle is going forward because the driver's commanding it to go forward. The response of the A-TRAC system is nearly instantaneous. So in other words, it is as instantaneous as a welder's mask. So when a welder strikes an arc, his auto-dimming mask instantly darkens it and he does not go blind. So even though technically a welding mask is reactive in nature, it functions so lightning quick, just like this A-TRAC system here. It is essentially an active system. That's why Toyota calls it A-TRAC, and that's why Toyota is parading this GX550 here and saying don't use the rear locker. This GX550, of course, has a rear locker, but they're insisting that drivers use A-TRAC so they can get that extra 50% on the wheel that actually has traction. Okay, here we see a Toyota engineer explaining what I just got done explaining here to everybody, which is 50% through A-TRAC can go up to 50% can go to one tire. In this case, the front passenger. So in the blue there. So when the driver's front slips, the driver's passenger there in the blue can get 50%. Not 25% like a locker, but up to 50%. The A-TRAC system is able to do this, and a traditionally locked vehicle is unable to do this. Instead, a traditionally locked vehicle will only give you 25% to each wheel. Here you can see clearly she's saying 50%. A-TRAC, do the math, is what she's trying to say. 50%. And so she's trying to showcase here the reason why Toyota took away lockers 23 years ago in most markets on their Land Cruiser. Right there, 25%. With a locker, you can only get 25% to each wheel on that rear axle there. She's showing you 25% versus the 50% that you can get on one wheel with A-TRAC. So this is what she's trying to hammer home. A-TRAC is awesome. When you're locked up, as you can see there on the rear axle, she's showing a axle's locked up. 25% is all you're going to get on any one individual tire. A-TRAC is going to do up to 50% on one wheel. A locker, again, cannot accomplish what she's trying to explain here. So why do people screw up A-TRAC? Why are there so many misconceptions? I'm going to put the top 3 reasons right here. And this is the most political way I can do it. I can't think of a nicer way to say it, but excuse me if I stray from that political correctness. The first misconception is the reaction time. So people think A-TRAC has a reaction time. But as stated, the reaction time is so quick. It's like this welder's helmet that you see down here. When the welder strikes an arc, this will immediately, the sensors will read it. It'll immediately darken the mask. It's lightning quick. Now, I don't know how many times per second it is, or what hertz, or what, how quick it is, but it's quick enough not to blind welders who use these masks day in and day out. So too is the reaction time of A-TRAC. It's simply so quick that Toyota has for 23 years called it active track instead of reactive track. Just like even though this welding mask is reactive, it is so quick it's active and it does not blind the user. In fact, you could argue that a welder couldn't, if this was a manual mask, he couldn't flip down his mask quick enough if he were to use it manually instead of relying on the sensors and the electronics. So too is A-TRAC. It's lightning quick. It's active track, even though technically it's reactive. The second reason is user error. People simply don't know how to use A-TRAC correctly. Now here's an example of someone who doesn't know how to use A-TRAC. Look at this wheel spinning like an open rear differential, this rear passenger. They have absolutely no clue what they're doing. Now this is nothing personal against them. It's just user error. Look at this rear passenger spinning because they don't actually have A-TRAC even engaged. It's a Lexus GX460 here. And the reason why they're not moving forward and this rear wheel keeps spinning is because they're not even in 4 low. And in the GX460, and to engage A-TRAC, you have to be in 4 low. So this wheel is spinning. And this is where people get the idea that A-TRAC's not working. It just spins. It needs to react. They don't even know what they're doing. This guy up here is literally saying to hit the brake and the accelerator at the same time. I kid you not. That's something you do in an all-wheel drive vehicle with a CVT. They have no idea what they're doing here, which is why this Lexus GX460 can't get up this obstacle, because they haven't figured out how to engage A-TRAC. Finally, they get it done, but you can see with this wheel spinning and this open differential action, they simply don't even know what they're doing. Both the driver and the spotter have no earthly clue what in the devil they're actually doing. Now let's contrast this with a Lexus LX470. Now this is a LX470 now that you see here. Now watch what happens. Same exact obstacle, and what happens? Up goes the Lexus LX470. Let's look at it again. Because this driver actually knows what they're doing. And remember, the LX470 does not have a locker. This is A-TRAC. He knows how to use it, and up he goes effortlessly because he's in for low, and he knows to just stay steady on the throttle. Remember, no locker. This is LX470, aka a Land Cruiser, I believe, 100 series. And it goes right up with A-TRAC. Boom. Done. The difference here is the user knows how to use his vehicle. That's the only difference here. The way to use A-TRAC is to simply keep your foot on the gas and steady as you go. Drive just as if you had a locker, and you'll sail through the obstacle A-OK. Unfortunately, a lot of people freak out when they hear the A-TRAC actuators or the ABS system going off, and they panic and they take their foot off the gas, and that causes A-TRAC to stop, or they jerk the steering wheel full left and full right, doing who knows what. That makes the system think you're in some crazy oversteer situation. Just drive the vehicle normally and calmly, and you'll sail right through it. And the third and final reason is probably the biggest reason for the A-TRAC misunderstandings or the A-TRAC naysayers. And that is, quite frankly, these people never actually off-road. So therefore, they could never actually test A-TRAC off-road because they just don't actually off-road. If you actually off-roaded any Toyota or Lexus SUV or truck with the A-TRAC system, you would quite simply realize, like this engineer is explaining, that the system simply works. The final thing people will argue is, well, Toyota put lockers back on certain vehicles in certain markets, and that's true. They do have a front and rear locker on the Land Cruiser 300G R Sport in the world market, and they have a rear locker on many Toyota SUVs now, including the Lexus GX550. It has a rear locker, and the reason for that is marketing and marketing only. It's a redundant system meant to quiet the naysayers, and Toyota quite simply said, just throw the lockers at them. Since they don't understand A-TRAC, just give them the lockers as well.